Hello everyone and welcome to Friday night primetime here at RaceSpot as we get ready for more IMSA iRacing series racing. Of course, it is the open one. It is, of course, at the Nurburgring Nordschleife. Hello, that's going to be a lot of fun. It's myself, Lewis McGlade, it's Ewan O'Leary alongside in the comms booth, and they're getting ready to go racing. This is going to be absolutely crazy, Ewan. I've got no doubt.
Yeah, it's going to be fast and furious. We'll be getting underway very shortly, and I can't wait to see how it's going to pan out. You very rarely see prototypes out on the Nordschleife for good reason, but this is the wonderful thing about sim racing. We can do this kind of thing, and hopefully it's going to put on a good show for us over the course of 45 minutes tonight.
Indeed. Of course, we were at Daytona just last week. We're here at the Nurburgring combined, the Nurburgring Nordschleife. So they'll be running all the way down, as far as I'm aware, down even into the hairpin as they begin. They've just started rolling on what is a very short formation, air quotes, lap. We can't bring you the grid, courtesy of how qualifying works this, because it's, as far as I'm aware anyway, because qualifying isn't done in this session. It's done elsewhere, which has caused absolute disaster. But we can tell you that Pete Berryman's in it. And let's be honest, is probably going to win.
That's quite harsh on everyone else, but I think he's the favourite.
It's true, though, isn't it?
And he's in the #1 car for a reason, isn't he? Also above that, above what we know about him, he is also in the #1 car. What's striking me initially here, though, is like how the Acura is so strong and so popular. I'm not sure whether that's just a Daytona hangover, that everyone's just been driving it last week, so I might as well drive it this week, but a lot of them at the front of the field.
There are quite a few Acuras, you're absolutely right. Of course, we do have the 3 categories, which they're effectively going to delay themselves in class. So whilst we've got all of the GTPs here, we will have the LMP2s that are a little bit further back, and then the GTDs, I can tell you, have not even started rolling yet, as we'll get those all set off. Like I say, I think Pete Berryman is probably is the favourite overall. He's out here for a little bit of fun. I cannot imagine how difficult these cars must be to race around in.
Yeah, the bumps and the corners, the curves especially as well, almost really not playing to your hands as a prototype driver around here. And as I say, that's why you don't often see racing around the Nordschleife in real life, in prototypes, and it's for good reason. But this is the wonderful thing about sim racing. We can do things that we don't see in real life. We can have races like this. It's going to be a bit of carnage, but nobody gets hurt in sim racing, which is a good thing. And so we can do this kind of crazy thing on a Friday night. Why not?
Exactly. I distinctly remember taking an Indy car around here not that long ago, and I can tell you that was pretty difficult. I think this might be a slightly different level. Of course, it'll be Pete Berryman starting from the pole position, Tanguy Billon from second position, with Dimsino behind in that third spot on the second row. And of course, Pete Berryman gets us underway here at the Nurburgring with a fantastic start. No worries for him. Already pulling a couple of tenths clear before we get down even into the braking zone as we go green at the Nurburgring in the Friday night prime time. Good kick around the outside coming from Bruderer, trying to send one in there at the first corner, but potentially out a little bit wide. I think there might have been a spin.
Yeah, I think there was, just on the very inside there. There's a big drop-off, of course, on the inside of turn 1 here, and it can wreak havoc with you. So it looks like someone has fallen afoul of that, but out of the first sector, Pete Berryman has taken charge. Tanguy Billon held off on a bit of a charge from those behind there through the opening corners to hold on to second, and then it's going to be Bruderer in third as the GTs now get underway.
Yeah, Martin Kadlacik is the one starting from that pole position, is leading by an enormous margin into the first corner, and a big send down the inside from Marshalkovski, just trying to work their way up onto the podium with a bit of side-by-side there with Kirkapar, not able to work their way past, but the outside line as they come their way through the arena section. Big send straight back down the inside for the Williams Esports driver. That was absolutely committed.
And that's what you get to see around the Mercedes Arena. It's a great section for racing, fantastic stuff through there on occasion, and now they've got it single filed out up the exit of the first sector of this Grand Prix layout. It's allowed Kadlacik to get a really big lead at the front of the GTD field.
Yeah, 1.5 seconds, absolutely incredible. Pete Berryman doesn't have quite the same luxury in the GTP class. Let's touch on the LMP2s though, because we didn't see their race start. It is still the race lead being held from Daldona, who was the one who started from the pole position. Ian May continues to hang on to second spot. No major switch in there. It was actually really well spaced out as the GTPs head their way onto the Nordschleife for the first time, and the LMP2s will very swiftly follow. Let's see this corner speed they're going to have. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, will have been flat out on the Nordschleife up until this point here, where they're out onto the Hatzenbach, and this will be a little bit more technical, but avoiding the curbs a little bit more than what you'd see maybe in the Nurburgring 24-hour when you've got just GT cars through there, of course. These prototypes are a little bit more sensitive to that. Now they're through that section, they'll be flat out again for quite some time. Flugplatz will be a little bit less of a ordeal, if you like, than in the GT cars, certainly.
I did see, as much as he's not in the race, I did see Norby Kish has joined the server at least, so he's keeping an eye on things, obviously preparing for tomorrow. I do think that's quite amusing, by the way, seeing like some drivers and stuff. Like still, they keep an eye on these official races to see exactly what the deal is. I do believe it was very close to a switch position for third in class. Was that actually a switch position, or was it very close?
Yeah, Dimensenso got through. Dimsenso, sorry, what's his name? Dimsenso got through on Brudera there to re-overtake. So initially lost that third place off of the start, but is now back to third again. And this is a replay of the start. It was quite a speculative dive, wasn't it, from Ignacio Rodriguez Fredes, and unfortunately pays the price for that. Yeah,
just bit of damage on the front, but nothing too major. We'll try and flick it into a J turn and get back going again before the LMP2s come around. You're absolutely right. It was just a bit too audacious. Already, the GTPs are coming through Callanard and out through this back section where you go through miss, hit, miss. A blink of an eye. They're already there.
Yeah. We haven't really got a view onto lap times because, as you say, we don't have qualifying here because the track's so long. So I'm very excited to see what the lap time's going to be for a very long circuit round here. It's about quarter of a century of kilometres or something like that. It's a very long way. The Nurburgring combined layout, and very interested to see how many minutes this lap is going to be.
I was talking to Cameron Roger whilst we were playing some golf, of course, and we were discussing this, and he reckoned it might be, with just wild guess, plucked number basically out of thin air, and said he might, surely this would be about like an 8-lap race, bearing in mind the speed limits. Who knows? Maybe that's right. If that is right, good for him. But he was working it out before slapping the drive, so you never really know. As there is a crash in the LMP2s. My goodness, what has happened here?
And there's at least a few involved. The 38 LMP2 is involved as well, unfortunately. That's Eddie Turner, who's gone around, is weaving around just to check that everything's okay, and it looks like it, but that looked like a case of a lot of cars going into that very tight section, and all of them coming out with all their body parts still on the car.
Yeah, I guess it is fairly easy once you go into that Verstappen section where it does really tighten up. Sometimes, especially going through miss, got a bit of dirty air on the front end of the car, and it can really pull you straight into the barrier and bouncing back onto the race circuit. So there are all occasions like that. This is looking a bit up the order in the LMP2, about fourth place. Sylvia Moraine with Sean Shishan behind as they come up to Bravery Corner, the Muck Curver, and fire their way through that. Should be completely flat in the LMP2, as will, to be fair, most of this section. Should be flat.
Yes, the downforce should keep you tied to the road for these cars. As we go back to GTD, what's been going on here for Adam Vukovic? He's been just shepherded off the road there on the exit of Hatzenbach. Rejoins then does he get touched there? And someone else gets into him as well. Does he get touched there, or does he drop it on his own? And that's actually a big track blockage. Thankfully, that was relatively at the back of the field. Didn't catch out too many, but there was a lot of cars involved there.
You say it was at the back of the field. It was about 5th place because it was Antiterro that he was trying to pass in that white and green Mercedes. That was who he was trying to pass. It was what dropped them down the order. Speaking of Terry, by the way, just been passed going into
Oh
my goodness!
Wow, that's a huge crash. Oh dear, huge crash on the way down the hill. Thiago Rodriguez involved with Tanguy Billen as well, so he got overtaken for second by Brudera. Clearly he's been making mistakes, or at least an mistake, because he's dropped from second right into that pack, and unfortunately contact down the hill has sent him right into the wall.
Yeah, obviously Billen was doing a really good job of keeping up with Berryman for the first portion of the run onto the Nordschleife, but just dropped back bit by bit, and then, like you say, once you come into this final part of the Nordschleife, once you've gone through the carousel, I still maintain this is the hardest part of the Nordschleife, because every other bit you've done time and time again, whereas this final bit, that final part, you don't survive as often. Let's put it that way. You know, you get there and then you crash. The 8 laps, by the way, I think he might have meant 6. He might have said 6. Let's ride on board. Going through all this with Bill. You're absolutely right. He's had a moment before all of this, and we'll see what happens with Rodriguez. Oh, carved straight over the nose.
Then the car comes back across the road again. No way of stopping. And Billen gets into contact as well. Unfortunately, that's pretty heavy damage there. So it was just a case of not quite enough space and room for two of them to really make do there as they go over the line to complete the first lap. So what, just over 7 minutes for that opening lap. That means it's probably going to be 6 laps, or probably 7 actually, because it needs to be under 7 minutes if it's going to be 6 laps.
Yeah, exactly. Into the pit lane on the first lap comes Dim Senso. So that would probably make sense that it was the other car that was involved in all of that, where Tanguy Billen was behind it. We saw that wrap around from Rodriguez, so that does make sense in all that. But yeah, it's not the cleanest opening lap that we've ever seen in final lap time. Probably not the dirtiest though, so we'll move on from that, as we'll see Sean Chisholm trying to make a move for 4th position down into that first corner. Obviously still trying to get past Sylvia Moraine.
Quite do it for now for 4th in LMP2. So it's been a good start for Alessandro Dalladone in the lead of this class. Ian May not too far behind. There's another small gap back to Robin Gartner, and then there's this fight for 4th position, headed by Sylvain Moraine. Then everybody else behind. It really is a bit of a train here, and it's what you can get around the Nordschleife on occasion. You can find yourself very stuck behind someone because overtaking opportunities are limited, but they do come right here at the end of the lap.
Yeah, Villa Pennanen dropping 2nd position as Martin Krakowski makes their way through, marching up the order bit by bit. Still a large gap though. Look at that on the left-hand side of your screen. A large gap up to Martin Kadlachik. You can see him just rolling down the start-finish straight now with quite a lead. So you can see the pressure building on Marshalkovsky's shoulders as well. Pennanen obviously right there. Kukapa's not too far behind, to be perfectly honest. Nor is Bereswell either. So there's a fair amount of pressure, and the lone non-Merc in all of this is the BMW of Pennanen.
I'd like to see a non-Merc around the Nordschleife because it is very strong around here, and so I'd like to see it being challenged by Pennanen, and he's doing that right now. 3rd place, good start, but has been overtaken by one Mercedes on the opening lap. I just hope that doesn't become a running theme for lap after lap from here.
Come down into the Grand Prix section. Normally when we do the Nordschleife combined, this is the bit where I think people underestimate how much lap time you actually lose going through the Grand Prix section. Everyone's so focused on the Nordschleife and how much time I lose over the Nordschleife. Well, second there could be a big deal was Bamber's trying to get to the outside. That is unbelievably brave as we get to Schwedenkreuz.
Well, you could call it brave because it worked out okay, but if it resulted in an accident, I think those around him would have had other words for it. But they're side by side now down the hill, very nearly towards Adenauer Forest. Look how close it is. It's Paulo Munoz trying to make the moves. Here he's going to go down the inside, and finally he's just going to be let go there because that was getting dangerous. It was Simon Bamber on the defensive. squeezing Munoz initially, and it was Munoz on the grass, and now he's up to 7th place in this battle for 6th, as it also involves Matthias Perinen in that number 8 car.
Yeah, and Perrinen's just staring in the mirror being like, have you seen these two? They're absolutely crazy. Yeah, giving that a go. I don't know if it was in relation to this or maybe like a couple of things have happened, but I did see that Paulo Munoz dropped a lot of question marks in the in-game chat. I don't know if that was for that movement straight, which I highly doubt it, considering I think his eyes were more focused on what was going on as they worked their way through miss, hit, miss. Although to be fair, I think in these cars it's probably hit, hit, miss, but you know, they do tend to go for that first apex now down into the siphon. And like you say, you do see plenty of racing going into Schwedenkreuz, that's fine. But side-by-side in cars that are this wide, goodness me.
And fast as well. You're not going to have a small accident if he goes wrong there. There's no doubt about that. By the way, I hope he's got a hotkey sign just for question marks. That'd be, I don't know. I find it funny with custom hotkeys what some people have chosen to say to other people in game chat, and I hope that's one of them. But I suspect he did literally type that.
What would you put as your custom hotkeys? That's what I want to know. Something forest related.
No. What's that got to do with iRacing?
I don't know. Well, I mean, I'm sure you'll find somewhere.
Oh no! It's happened again. Second lap in a row in LMP2, and there's a crash down here.
Who was that? Was that Sylvia Moraine? I think it was. Yeah, Sylvia Moraine obviously was ahead of Sean Chisholm in that battle, but I wonder if that was a solo droppage. I don't think it was. I do not believe it was. I think it was assisted with Chisholm.
I think it would have been Chisholm down the inside as they went into the siphon, and well, you can see the contact, can't you, on the front right of that car. I think Chisholm's been down the inside. The bodywork's now slightly out of line. There you can see it, and it sent Sylvain Moraine into the wall, unfortunately, down to what will become 9th place, maybe.
I think it's 8th at the moment, but it might well drop down tonight. Let's see what happens with Sean Chisholm. So onto the brakes, much later than Moraine, straight into the rear end. Wouldn't even say he got down the inside there. I think it's just completely different braking points going into there, maybe different levels of confidence, and Sean Chisholm's mistake in all of that. Really costing Sylvain Moraine. Big shame.
Depends which way you look at it, really. Do you look at it as a heightened confidence thing from Chisholm, or would you say he's braking too late there? Because I think there's two ways of looking at that, really. In my opinion, he's broke too late and gone straight into the back of the car in front of him.
I mean, in a sense of like, there's a car there, so you can't just brake whenever you want. Fair enough. I think that would be a normal braking point, right? I, from the speed that I was seeing there, I'm kind of looking. I think Sean Chisholm would have actually pulled it up to the apex.
He missed it though.
Kind of, fair enough. But you don't really go straight for the first part of that because you want to hook it quite late. Going into the siphon.
No!
That's a big bit of contact, and Jasper Sung, oh my goodness, spins round the number 40 of Claro and gets them back going again.
How is everybody still going? Oh no, there's angry drivers now. Daniel Claro has been dived by the 34 car there. That was Jasper Sung, who he was in contact with initially, and he was very unhappy about it, flashing the lights, diving down the inside at Hoeract, and he's back to 12th again, but he was furious about that.
Yeah, I think miffed might be the word there. Wow, that was brave, scary and dangerous, but still exciting. Jasper Sung clearly showing his intentions on the race circuit. Coming through Brunchen, of course, YouTube corner, out far too wide and now having to focus backwards. We'll see this once more on board with Jasper Sung, and you'll get a really good vibe of this dive.
I'm looking forward to this. So you can clearly see Claro gets on the curb, dunks down the inside.
Ooh, that's brave.
Well, and he very nicely corrects Claro as well there, which is nice of him. But, and maybe that's what he's unhappy about. So he gets shoved onto the curb right at the end and then does this. He was definitely going to drive into him there. Great awareness from Claro to avoid that. That was a touring car move. I've never seen it. The thing is with Claro there, I think the reason why he was holding it so far left was because there was a car coming around the outside, and he's kind of trying to make sure that they've got the room to come through. Either way, that was very messy, and Jasper Sung had a big send in all of that, but it was entertaining at the bare minimum. And now we begin the slipstream Weavy trains going down the Duttinger Hoa. I mean, Ian Brasfield here hasn't been involved in any of the contact there, and so surely he's going to breathe past these two. Is the Floridian, and so he will. I mean, look at the extra straight line speed he's got. I'll be surprised. Look at that. That's a huge difference. Contact for Sung and Claro has really held them both back. Even in the slipstream, they're getting absolutely nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, these cars, as much as the LMP2 is typically classified as an absolute tank, obviously the Nordschleifer has an awful lot of straight line moments, as an absolute mess of the final corner has been made from Ian Brasfield, and what would have been a huge advantage going onto this lap might require a bit of a dive down into T1, potentially 3 wide in all of this, as Brasfield holds to the right side and now backs out of it as a big send straight through coming in there from Claro, and that one's not going to work.
Well, he got it slightly wrong. He broke a bit too late and slid his way through the turn, and he's back to 14th. So he went up to 12th, and he's gone down a couple of places all over again as well. So very entertaining fighting in LMP2, but not the cleanest race I've ever seen.
These are all fairly high I-rated drivers as well. So if you are low I-rated, like, I don't know, you and O'Leary, could we both went for that one? Then you know, fear not. Even the higher I-rated. To be fair, I wouldn't be in this split, I don't think. You don't even know what my I rating is. You pump the brakes.
2.7 or something?
3.2.
Oh well, you've improved since the last.
I was 3.5, and I had a few races that I really shouldn't have done, like that IndyCar race. So we'll go back to GTDs and see what's going on in this. Obviously, the race lead, Kalachik is running away with it right now, but that does not mean that battles are done. You've got Vilipeninen keeping Marshalkovsky under pressure a little bit for that second spot. This is a little bit further back with Philip Bereswil directly behind Kirkegaard.
And so based on what I'm seeing with the lap times at the moment, by the way, I think on the last lap, maybe the penultimate lap, GTPs are going to have to overtake some of these GTDs, especially the leading ones. So I didn't actually think there'd be lap traffic in this race. I thought the gaps these days between the top and bottom classes was too little, but actually I think we could get some lappery on the last lap. The LMP2s aren't going to finish on the lead lap though.
And I am okay with that. I'm excited for that. I'm scared of that. I won't lie. 27 minutes obviously left to go. Now, normally with the IMSA iRacing series, we will typically see people pit. Around here, we will definitely see people pit. This is a thirsty track when it comes to fuel consumption. So we'll almost certainly need but all 3 classes onto pit lane. I think the only time this season where we've not required a pit stop and been able to get through really has been Long Beach. Back to the LMP2s though.
Yes, this has been the most entertaining class so far, I would argue, in this race. I think you mentioned about stops there. At the very least, you want to make it to the end of this lap, probably the end of the next one, just so that you're absolutely sure you've gone halfway. Because you know, we've not quite been 20 minutes yet in this 45-minute race, so you do at least want to get to the end of this lap, maybe the next one, before you're making any fuel stops. But I wouldn't imagine 2 stops will be required over just 45 minutes.
Oh, like I say, it's definitely a one-stop race. The tank in this will be fine, and like you say, I think you can pit at the end of this lap. It's fine, and you'll be able to reach the checkered flag because you would have enough room in the tank. But the thing is around here is it's not like a normal circuit where we'll see people go 1 lap further. That is a very written off race car. It was missing the entire front right.
Yeah, I was going to say, whole corner of the car was missing there. What on earth has happened?
It's hit a wall very hard.
Well, yeah, he's hit some up, multiple. We'll try and have a look, but that has got to be a huge accident. And you said earlier, no small accidents around here.
Well, obviously we're looking at Jasper Sung here, and it's directly behind.
Dear.
Ow, that is a big hit into the barrier. That's a proper backbreaker there for Ian Brasfield. And we knew that was going to be quite a big one because we heard an oh dear from our broadcast director, our broadcast Petit Carlo. That's the sign of you're about to see something quite painful.
Ooh, we did. It's always the tricky thing with that corner though, isn't it? And that for us, because you can actually take the left-hander a lot quicker than you actually end up doing, but you don't want to, because otherwise you'll run out of space entirely to brake for the next corner. So it's one of those bizarre ones where you have to compromise one corner so that you can actually get the car stopped in time for the next.
Even some of the very best drivers have caused enormous crashes at that. Myself, I'm sure you have. Had a big crash in that corner.
I had a brush with the wall there where I only just got a car stopped in time before having a big accident.
Really?
So I brushed that wall on the left, you can just see there, yeah.
Have you ever done the 24 hour?
No.
Oh, good.
12 once, but...
I haven't either. I can count the amount of races that I've done around this circuit on one hand, and that is not a joke. I know it very well. I've commentated on it quite a few times. I do enjoy driving it. Racing it, I am not good at, as we'll check in with our GTD leader, Kadlachik. All three of our race leaders in each of the categories are fairly dominant, but I will say the LMP2 and GTD, it's a little closer, you know, where there's a slight mistake, you know, fair enough. Pete Berryman is 11 seconds clear in the GTPs. He is showing exactly why he is the #1 driver in this group.
Yeah. I think if you were to order them also, if we were to order them by what we thought, you know, the results were going to be, I know you said it immediately, Peter Berryman would certainly have been at the top of the lists in GTP, but also across all three classes, to be honest, in terms of his ability. So yeah, the three leaders looking comfy, but the other battles around the classes are looking exciting, and we've already had plenty of good racing. There's still a lot of battles to be settled here before the end, just not ones for the lead.
Very curious to see which class you would pick round here as one of our GTPs comes into the pit lane. Matthias Pirinen drives it into pit lane. So the first couple in the GTPs will bite. I suspect we'll see a higher percentage in both the LMP2s and GTDs come into the pit lane, courtesy of like the percentage of the race they have left when they get down here. Like I say, it's not. I was going to say it's not like a common circuit where you can stay out that one extra lap and it'll make the difference. Around here, yeah, one extra lap's a bit long.
You're not going to save fuel to manage that or whatever. It's very difficult to achieve that around here, as opposed to some of the other tracks that we've got on this schedule that are a little bit shorter, like Montreal. That's going to be short laps coming up. Mossport to start this season, Long Beach, all very short circuits where can do funny things with the strategy, less so around here certainly. And also the gaps mean that you actually, even after pitting in GTP, you're not going to come out behind the LMP2s because they're so far behind. Although Fredis and Kaiser are still in the pit lane and the LMP2s are about to make their way over the line, maybe it will be close.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. By the way, Fitzpatrick didn't say in chat, I would make a top split, the thing is I'm checking, provided I would be an LMP2, because the lowest GTD is 4. So yeah, no, I need a little bit more. Well, I was bringing that up mostly because I was curious to see how much Pete Berryman is actually gaining from this race. Obviously, in the lead of it at the moment, he'll be gaining a whopping 28 iRating, as we'll see. Paul Busby, that's been slightly round, not even on the Nordschleife. That's a rarity around here.
Yeah, on the way to the Nordschleife, there's some pretty big curbs on the inside there. So I wonder if he's just grabbed one of those on the way in and rotated himself around, but we'll find out on that one. He's dropped down to 6th place now behind Paulo Munoz, who now makes his way inside the top 5 with a slightly less hair-raising overtake than his previous ones.
Yeah, exactly, and obviously less question marks dropped in chat for that one, but we'll have to wait and see as to whether Busby's going to be able to close back up, because he was in the high position before. Let's take a look as to what's happened. Going through the chicane, a little too much curb on the right, and it just spun round. It could snap like that all over the grass, and did a very good job to keep it out of the barrier, losing a couple of spots in doing so, but keeping the car nice and clean. That slide afterwards makes sense, considering you've got grass all over your tyres. It's a significant impact when it comes to the grip of these tyres. So, yeah, to be fair, I think quite lucky and all that. Back to the GTDs where everything's really tight, except for the race leader Mark Kadlachik is cleared out. Battle for second is on, and we've got 5 cars in it still.
Yeah, it's fantastic to see. As I said earlier, I was fearing for the BMW that it was just going to fall like a stone through the group, but actually it stayed with Marszałkowski quite well in the latter portion of this race, and so good run out of Garbenkopf. I think he'll be able to hang on, and now it'll be the slipstream games happening down towards turn 1. Already one weave down from Marszałkowski on the straight. There's the second one. I'm sure there'll be at least one more before the end.
Oh yeah, It's not. This is not the make one move and hold it kind of straight. It's a bit too long for that. You begin the rise and then the drop back down towards that final complex of corners. Let's see if there is going to be a move here. Second place, the battle for Marszałkowski, trying to hold on from Penningen. And to be fair, I don't think anyone's desperate to go through because the amount of fuel saving you get in the slipstream round here, no, it's not going to be enough to save you a lap, but yes, it will be enough to shorten your pit stop. They're all going to hold right and come straight into the pit lane because obviously they're not going to go an extra lap. All of the GTDs will be into the pit lane. Kadlacik also in. But it's about shortening this pit stop.
Yeah, and this is the moment right here. Everybody's in GTD pretty much. No one stayed out just yet, and I don't think they're going to be able to. So we're over halfway. They can make it on fuel. There's no worries about that anyway. And now it's time to see what the pit stops are going to be like. Kadlacik is already on his way. That's to be expected. Who's going to be next?
I will tell you, someone who's going to have a terrible pit stop, Philip Bereswell. That was horrendous. Was parked at 90 at one point, then got it in reverse, then lined back up into the spot. Absolute disaster. And I was going to say, Marszałkowski is still stationary in pit lane.
Speed, did he? He's
out of the race.
Is he on his way?
He's disconnected.
Oh.
Any advances on that one, ladies and gents? Not a clue as to what's happened to Marszałkowski, but definitely we'll be taking a bit of a hit to the IR department because that's very bizarre.
Yes, especially since he's number 3. That's going to be particularly hurtful. That's a big shame as well. I was looking forward to the battle with the 5 of them actually in the second half of the race, but the connection has put paid to that, and well, it left us now with a slightly smaller group, and in fact those gaps are a lot bigger as well after the stops.
I'm taking a look. And the thing is, came into the box. A lot of other people have gone up onto the jacks because you would take tyres as well around here. Because you do fuel tyres. Oh, well, I'll come back to that point in a second. There's more issues for Busby. Round once more. We saw him round once on this lap. That was going through the final chicane on the Grand Prix layout. And now once here at the top. It's a whole accident. Again, those tyres are too hot.
Yeah, and the bodywork was probably hanging on for dear life at that point anyway, and that's going to be it. By the way, the iRacing sounds for crashes these days are a lot better, but they are brutal.
They are brutal.
All I heard was just carbon fibre and bodywork and all sorts clunking on the ground and the walls. It was brutal sounds, but you know they are very realistic, very good sounds. Here's what happened at Horak. Just gets on those curbs, goes for the laziest spin into the wall.
There was a hit on the barrier. I did wonder if there was some rear suspension damage as well as just the tyres being overheated. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's not quite the same as just like a load of cutlery being thrown onto the floor. Like I have heard some crash sounds in my time in sim racing. It's a proper slap on the barrier, and yeah, you can't miss it.
No, it was the floor I heard on the curb that really. Sort of, I don't know what the word is, but it really started to. Well, I noticed it. Put it that way. I noticed it a lot. Yeah.
I believe, by the way, Pete Berryman is going to come straight into the pit lane this lap, and I've just checked. He absolutely is coming into the pit lane, which means the entirety of the GTPs will also come in. Obviously, we have seen a couple of stops already. But the GTP's taking a bit of a hit this lap. 15 minutes and 50 seconds left to go, which, bearing in mind the lap times they're running, is going to be 3 laps.
Yeah, 3 laps around here. So plenty of time remaining. Are they going to catch the GTDs? I wonder again. Catching by about 1:15 per lap. So if we get 7, they will have caught by over 8 minutes. I suggest they will get there in time.
Yeah, exactly. Which will be both exciting and terrifying. So that's fine. Coming into the pit lane and going onto the jacks, of course, once again, fuel and tyres. Not a huge fan of the Repsol Acura livery.
I was about to say, that's lovely.
Were you? Are you a big? Yeah. Are you? Do you like the Repsol stuff? I guess. Oh, fair enough.
I mean, it makes. I've seen it on a bike before. And
I was going to say
bikes.
And the NSX. I remember it was on the NSX as well.
I've seen that,
actually. It makes sense. It being on an Acura. in this, but I don't know if I'm fully vibing with it. Either way, it's not vibing with being in a solid position in this race, because it is going to drop back one more, will Jens Kaiser. So just dropping a single one to the recovering Ignacio Rodriguez Fredes, who obviously spun at the very first corner of the race.
Yes, and he's been recovering ever since, but he's back to the top 10 now, and you could say by all accounts that's a pretty good recovery. How many positions is he going to grab here with the duo in pit lane? There's still a couple receiving service, and he's going to get them both from what I'm seeing. So not, oh no, well, we'll see. I'm waiting for my timing screen to figure itself out. It will be both, yes.
It will be both,
8th place.
So oh, that was a good livery.
It's very distinctive. I'm not sure about good.
It's great livery.
I don't hate it, actually. Now it's zoomed in a bit more. From a distance, it looked a bit striking.
I mean, it is... Do you remember the Harlequin Polo?
No.
You never see... They're quite rare. But it's a Volkswagen Polo, and all of the body parts are in different colours. That is it, right there,
Okay.
if it was a race car.
Interestingly, by the way, that had 3 names on the side of it, so I wonder if someone used that for Daytona.
I hope so. I like that livery.
So.
I both like the livery and I hate that livery.
It would have been helpful in our split just for real clarification as to who that is.
It wouldn't be black, red and white, would it? Whatever black, red and grey.
Everyone's black and red these days in livery-wise.
There's a bright pink car that you couldn't miss. Straight out of pit lane, of course, our race leader, Daldona, in the comfortable position of the race lead. Although I will say Ian May's closed up a couple of seconds throughout that pit sequence. Probably just taken less fuel, to be fair.
A lot less of a lead for Daldona now, but I think still comfortable. Whether we get a battle towards the end remains to be seen, because these cars are not going to see traffic in LMP2 as far as I'm aware.
They might come across one, at least, which I have just seen the GTP leaders have gone past, which is Sebastian Vettel, and they're only a few seconds behind potentially even the next batch of track. No, that's fine. There's loads of room. They will be catching some traffic, but for our race leader Pete Bowman, the next traffic is about 1:40 down the road from them, really.
So about a lap and a half away, ish.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit less than that, as we got more Pablo Munoz again at the same corner. This time on the inside, he's made it work again.
Wow, he is a very brave man, to the point where I'm kind of looking at this and thinking, like, that's the level of bravery that you've got to be to go and do like WRC Monte Carlo. From what we've been watching over the last couple of days, that is right up there. That was a big send from Munoz. That was terrifying, but I do love it. I couldn't do that.
No, and it's not the first time he's done it either. And that really fast run to Schwedenkreuz, the left-hander over the top of the hill there before Arenberg. This time at least he wasn't on the grass, but he was down the inside. And credit as well to Dominic Gumplemer, because he had to give a lot of space there, and there wasn't much space to give, if you like, on the outside, and he made it work.
No, indeed. I wonder if we're seeing a bit of a... considering what happened at Daytona, if we're seeing a bit of a switch in the GTP category, where we're seeing, I don't know, maybe it's a track thing, I don't know, but we're seeing a lot of, in fact, the entirety of like the top, well, everyone basically left the race in the GTPs is an Acura, and I wonder if that's becoming the meta, maybe a little bit.
By the way, I'm not sure what happened to that Cadillac which you saw start the race, but clearly not at the front of the field. Yeah. It would be a shame. I hope it is just this circuit really that has sort of shaped this, because I never like to see any manufacturer dominating. It's nothing against Acura at all. It's just I don't want to see any of the manufacturers dominating. I want to see all 4 of them, up there fighting for race victories, whether it's in this series or the big special events, of course, like we had at Daytona last week. It's always great to see, in my opinion, different manufacturers battling it out, and quite the opposite what we've got today.
Yeah, exactly. It was at the Daytona 24 Hour, we did actually have a fairer split of it, as we can see one of those Acuras right in the front. I know Apex did have a Porsche as well in all that. That Cadillac, by the way, you're alluding to is Brian Greener, who is still in the race at the moment, at the back end of the GTP field. There he is. There you go.
That's the only GTP I own, by the way.
Is it? Same. Well, no, sorry, no, I do actually own a BMW. Never mind, I'll pump the brakes on that one.
When I wanted to buy a GT3, the Cadillac and BMW were the only ones available, so I went for the Cadillac. If I was choosing now, I wouldn't, but yeah.
But it's got a bit of ooh-woo on the front of it as well. A jump back up into the GT3s. Oh, no! Oh my goodness me. Ummerlin out wide. It'll be Ummerlin and Arden over what happened in that final corner. That was a real stretch. I'm so sorry.
That's exactly what I was going to say as well, though, so that's hilarious. But, yeah, unfortunately drops the place, and by quite some distance as well. One of those very painful ones where you knew it's going to happen for a while, but there's actually nothing you can do about it for quite some time. It happens sometimes in the BMW, as we know.
It's such a long braking zone into this final chicane. So getting a bit of an overlap there on Hassan Saeed.
That's me.
Like, to be fair, I think the first part of that braking was absolutely fine and committed and brave, which I do respect. But it was that second bit, as soon as it got over to the left-hand side where you've got the slip road basically on the right, that was the bit where everyone was looking at that being like, I know where that car's going, and it's not on the racetrack. It's good to keep it out of the wall, though.
Yeah, he did, to be fair. So at least he's still in the race and not in the wall here. End of another lap here for Petit Berryman coming up. With 8.5 minutes to go, he's going to squeeze in 2 more, I think, isn't he? Yeah.
Definitely going to be 2 more for Berryman, who's just relaxing, chilling, vibing, having a great time being back on iRacing. I think he quite likes the GTPs as well. I've seen him in them quite a bit.
Well, this is the thing, really. For me, why is he here? Is it just because, I mean, we all do random officials sometimes just because we fancy it. You know, is he here because it's a broadcasted race? Is he here because he's practicing for something? You know, is he just having a relaxing evening? I mean, why is
it a relaxing evening? Might just be a relaxing evening. The thing is, like, when you see a weird combo, like the IMSA iRacing series going to the Nordschleife, or like, for example, if it went to Bathurst or something like that, like you look at that and you think, do you know what? It's Friday night. I've got nothing else on over the weekend. Might as well just chuck it around. He's not doing DNLS tomorrow, is he? Do Apex do that?
He hasn't done any this season, I don't think, but there are a couple of Apex cars in there, so
maybe
it would have been good practice for someone to do it. But I mean, this is not even the same layout that we're using tomorrow for DNLS, so I know it's only the Grand Prix layout that changes, but even so, not quite the same.
I'd say it's relevant. It's fine.
I think I agree. But at the end of the day, like, all of those drivers who will be racing tomorrow already know the Nordschleife very well, so I'm not sure how much else you can get out of practicing when it gets to round 3 of a series like that, when it's only at the same circuit. I'm not sure what you can get out of it at that point.
I was going to say it might be even setup and data gathering, which obviously is easy to do setup and data gathering in a race than it is to do in practice, because practice is boring, as we look at camera check. So maybe there's that, but then at that point when it's like, maybe, probably not. It's a bit late. I always find that if you're going to race on a circuit like this, if you were doing a big race, like say for example tomorrow, making a big or even remote setup change is a bad idea. Around a circuit like this, it's not. That ain't it, Chief.
Some drivers can't help themselves.
Oh, I know.
And they just do it again and again and again. And so I reckon there will be some drivers tomorrow for tomorrow's race tweaking tonight, to be fair, because that's what some drivers are like, very twitchy on the old setup on occasion. By the way, Vince Cussy thinks that Peter Merriman's here because he knows he's going to win, which is slightly unfair, but he's winning.
No, but to be fair, this is a really good point. This is why I keep seeing Moritz Lerner popping up in those GT4s. Well, he has been in the GT3s this week. I'm disappointed he's not in this race. Moritz, you're not watching this, but still, we'll move on. Anyway, when you're at that level of iRating, and also you've seen, let's be honest, I think another 2, since Daytona, I think another 2 drivers have gone over 10K. You want to be in that 10K gang, and if you have a series like this where it's fairly high I-rated, where you can gain, think of it normally as we'll see Jensen come into the pit lane in the LMP2s. Something like this. In a normal race, if you go and drive and you're like 9 point whatever K I-rated, you're gaining maybe like 15 or 20, right? Whereas because it's a moderately high I-rated split, he's getting 28. which is a bigger percentage gain. Like, that makes quite a difference.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just me, and maybe these proper drivers are more interested in iRacing than me, but really that doesn't interest me to race. I would rather, I mean, to be fair, I wouldn't blame him if he's just racing because it's a fun combination as well, you know, because at the end of the day it is. I would quite fancy it if I was still driving.
Mm-hmm.
You know, do these drivers really care about their iRacing? I guess maybe they do. If it's so high, then I guess they want to keep it that way and increase it.
Well, take for example Daytona last week. If you didn't join us for Daytona last week, the strength of field was ridiculous. And if he was taking part in the GTD category, 9.2k is not a guarantee to get in. You would need someone in the car to be like 10.5.
It's true.
To get in, right? So so at that point, I think that's the wake-up call for some of these drivers who are good, who are obviously definitely on the same level as all those over 10k, to look at it and be like, okay, at 9.2, I am not guaranteed to top split in a special event, which that is a big thing for teams like the Apex Racing team, like Redline, Coanda. That is a big deal for teams like that, and so that might be why as well. But we are speculating.
I think that's a more relevant theory actually. I do forget that I'm not competing to try and get into any sort of split, am I? As a driver, there's no doubt about that, and you know, I'll just end up in what split I will end up in. But these drivers will care about being in top split, because if you do have that ability and the chance to, then why wouldn't you? So yeah, you're right, that it is important for them to sort of keep that up, at least not lose it, because they can get into top split a little bit more easily and tend more of the special events we got coming up, and they're pretty thick and fast at this time of year.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, Bathurst isn't that far down the road. Do you really think the Apex Racing team? Do you think they really care about Split 2? I mean, they do because they won it, but that's fine. But no, anyway, battle for second position in the GTPs. We're at least focused on this one because Brunner has not had the most comfortable starts to the final portions of this race. He runs out a little wide, going through the carousel, and is feeling unbelievable amounts of pressure from Pablo Alexander Lopez.
Yeah, and this is the little battle we're starting to expect to see really at this time in the race. It's starting to quiet down towards the end. We're on the penultimate lap. We are maybe expecting a little bit of traffic, but the battles are few and far between, and so far Brunner has done a pretty good job at hanging on to second place and is flying through this section.
I will say when it comes to traffic, going into Flanks Garden and stuff, Pete Berryman has got traffic up ahead. There's only about 2 seconds down the road. Then there's a bit of a break, and then it comes through some of the more of the GTDs. We are likely to get, and likely I mean we're guaranteed to get, basically another lap here, as there is Pete Berryman working his way past the traffic, which means the entirety of the GTD field will drop a lap down, courtesy of Pete Berryman's charge, which is great for us, by the way, because it means that the race won't take about 3.5 years to end. Great sign. But also, Pete, that does mean that you've got 10 more GTDs to clear.
Exactly, and that's the last danger point in this race, really, for everybody, especially Peter Berryman, though, who's led from start to finish here and just wants to bring it home. It's going to be very difficult to do so. There are going to be fights to the line in LMP2. It looks like this one for third place may well go on right to the end as Sean Chisholm tries to find his way back onto the podium again.
Yeah, Robin Gartner's the one ahead at the moment. Sean Chisholm just trying to close in, look for an opportunity. Obviously, we probably won't see him try a dive down the inside of the siphon. Tried that one, didn't work. So probably that one's off the table. But you wouldn't rule out, anything big over the top. To be fair, if I'm in this and it's right now when I've got 7 seconds back to the next car, I am just going to wait for the Burton Hoa. I'm just going to wait until they're fly past the slipstream, get on with it.
Yeah, I mean, easier said than done, I think. But let's see what happens. He's looking up the inside here and towards the next turn. This is the hairpin before the carousel, of course. Able to find his way through there. Very difficult to do so. Now into the carousel, which I've noticed, by the way, a very strange sort of technique from some of these LMP2s.
Yeah, it's the line, the two wheels on the flat surface is bizarre to me.
It's also what they're doing with the wheel. Did you notice that time we were on board with one of the LMP2s. They were sort of jabbing at the wheel again and sort of giving it lock and then straightening it, giving it more lock and then out again. It was very odd.
It is hard to be smooth in there, fair enough. But I found the two wheels on the, like, that's like trying to drive. Oh, that's a really bad example actually, considering recent times. But I'm going to commit to it. That is like driving Daytona by dipping two wheels below the double yellow. It's actually quite hard to do because the car's like really unbalanced. Maybe it is faster, who knows? Clearly it's working for them and they're all doing it, so clearly it is the better one.
I guess the difference is the lack of speed that you'd make through the carousel there. It's a lot slower than you are on the banking at Daytona, for example. So I guess that's one difference, but other than that, it's somewhat similar, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I mean, like, because my point being there is it's the difference of banking, of course, from the carousel itself and then the flat surface below it, and that generally will make the car very oversteered. Final lap of the race, by the way, has definitely begun. Pete Berryman has already begun it and comfortably running through it, getting up to the GTD traffic. He's still, like I say, he is going to clear the entirety of the GTD contingent before we see the checkered flag. So that would be a solid thing for some of the GTDs, because it's like, right, cool, we've done our race, we've done 6 laps. That'll do, thank you very much. The LMP2s, though, they will obviously have to finish this lap and then finish the entirety of the next lap. So they will have another run on the Duttinger to try and make this move. We'll see if Chisholm is able to make a pass. Not really close enough in the slipstream. Did not leave Galgenkopf quite well there.
Not as well as he wanted to, but the slipstream is going to make up for it by the looks of things. It'll be side by side by the time they go under the bridge, and how are they going to sort it out by Tiergarten? That was a very late look out of the slipstream as well. Wants to take all of the extra speed that he can possibly muster, and now round the outside through the first bit of a left-hander. Is into third place, but will he stay there on this last lap?
Yeah, exactly. Got the run down into T1, where there might be a potential move back. Did you notice something?
Amazing.
Oh yeah, Ian May's into the pit lane. That's a great shout.
It's underfield.
Oops. Not sure if I'm a fan of that livery. On that car. It's not gold, it's yellow. That's really weird. Anyway, yeah, that's a really weird one from Ian May, who was doing a really good job. We did say that he had closed up to Daldonna in the pit stop, so maybe didn't take that extra lap of fuel. And that clearly that extra lap of fuel was required.
Yeah, I don't know how he would have thought he would have been lapped or whatever, though. Or maybe he thought that the GTBs weren't going to start another lap, I suppose. That's the that probably went wrong there, but obviously Berryman's very quick and he's started another lap. It's 7 laps rather than 6. Maybe he's been doing some other officials in which only 6 laps have been required from these top drivers, but we're going 7 and he's been caught out by that quite clearly.
The ones that are going 6th, though, are these GTDs up to 6th position, lap for Pete Berryman. Next one will be Beresfield, who obviously is not that far behind Kirkapar, so there are potential, battles in the GTD category, but they're realising now the corners left to go for them are really ticking down, so it is very much a get on with it. By the way, let me just say, the amount of retirements that we've got in this race, remember when you did that IndyCar race, was it a week or so ago? In that race, there was no retirement. I think there might have been 1 retirement in that whole race. I was fuming. I thought, surely everyone's going to bin it, but then you realise all the IndyCar specialists who were doing it. In this race, you've got loads of retirements. You should have done this one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure why that is, to be honest, because it was similarly sort of bizarre to go here as a series, and would have thought there'd be a similar amount of incidents as a result, but clearly not. IndyCar's not exactly a big fan of curbs either, like these prototypes.
Exactly.
They were racing each other pretty hard as well, so yeah.
That was a longer race.
Yeah.
No. Unacceptable. They're competent when I'm in the race, is that what it is.
Well,
I bring out the best in people.
I mean, it was a pretty clean race. It wasn't bad. There was one incident,
you
actually.
Can't say it. You can't say it. Yeah, Liz. Yeah, you don't bring the best out.
Well, we barely saw you, to be honest, so I don't know what you were up to.
That's true. I was horrendously slow. I think my fastest lap was a long way down. Seeing, by the way, that there might have been a big problem. Yeah, I'm seeing Matt Bartlovitz, by the way, who is at the top of the LMP2s. No, has retired.
At the top of the whole field.
Retired from the race. on the
He's
last
retired
lap.
from the race, but has iRacing counted him as winning the race?
No. That would be hilarious, though. Easy win. But no, it's because he's been towed back to pit lane.
Yep.
Effectively. But that is rather funny. So Bartlovich is not in the race lead in LMP2. That is still Daldon.
And it also makes it look like we've got the checker flag out, which is also not true yet.
That is true. That is also true. And now Bartlovich is rejoining the race. Like, how very confusing. There must have been it must have been late in the lap, because the fact they've towed and now they're back out on the racetrack. It must have been very, very late in the lap. How bizarre.
It must have been. I think it was early in the start of the next lap, because that's how he sort of got ahead of everyone, because it's giving him an extra lap.
Well, that's a good point.
I hope he gets to keep that.
It's just for the memes. At the moment, he'd be gaining 117 I rating. So
Not surprised. I'd give him all the R rating for beating the GTPs.
there is that. On to the final time, onto the Duttingerhoa, though. Of course, you've got our GTD leader, Kadlachik. Comfortably ahead of all of that is Pete Berryman. Only a couple of corners left to tick off for the Apex Racing Team driver in what has been a dominant performance here at the Nurburgring, isn't it?
Yep, it's going to be a great result for Peter Berryman. Unchallenged all day long. Very deserving of what has to be said, an expected race victory, really.
He came into it as the favourite. He's got the number one in his car. He's going to finish in the number one position. Pete Berryman will win in the IMSA iRacing series here at the Nurburgring Nordschleife. Of course, Friday night prime time. It's not the only victory. Of course, we will also see Kadlachik across the line. But there is this fight as well in the GTDs in... sorry, I was going to say it's a fight. I think it's more just lap traffic, isn't it?
Looks like it might be a fight for fourth place going on between Bresswill, who is harried on and in fourth place, has held on the ATRS car. So that's the battle to the line down there in GTD. Bresswill hangs on from Kukipa in the fifth place, and he will just make it to the line in time.
I'm glad you were paying attention. I saw a black and green car and I was like, that's definitely Kadlachik, right? Who was in a black and green car. Alas, no, it wasn't. You were absolutely spot on. Fantastic overtakes in all of that. In LMP2, we go back to some of the fantastic fighting that we've got. It's a little bit further down. No, Kutra trying to get to the inside and working their way past. Yes, indeed, that is Ian May. Back out of pit lane, was third at the start of or second rather at the start of the lap. Now having to work their way up the order, side by side, all the way up the hill towards Mutkirver. And there's a reason it's called Bravery Corner, and we might well have to see that here.
Oh, we are. May's on the outside. Woo! Oh, my word, that was close. Wow. There was very nearly a humongous accident, but thankfully they've avoided it.
Millimetres. Absolute millimetres between the pair. And that is single-digit millimetres as well. Incredible. You can measure your height with that. But no, that was... thank you, no worries. That was really brave from the pair of them. Fantastic stuff. Obviously, Ian May will be a little bit frustrated there, but taking a litre less of fuel. Crazy stuff, as we'll see the actual LMP2 leader. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen. I've never seen this. I've been on iRacing for 10 years. I've never seen this.
I don't think I can describe to you my excitement right now.
It's not. It's going to be an anticlimax. It is going to drop.
No, don't say that. I'm so excited for this. Honestly, I cannot wait.
It is just going to drop Bartlovich down the.
No, it's not.
It will. I'm so sorry, but it's just
not dropped him below the GTPs.
Not yet. That's actually a really good point. It hasn't.
By the way, if I was Alessandro Daldoni, I would be finding this extremely not funny.
Oh, I absolutely agree. When you've not put a single foot wrong all race, you're sort of like, what is going to happen here? Very, very, honestly, bizarre.
I don't think my excitement could be higher.
All race. Part of it, by the way, is not even in the race. Has definitely done with it. So we'll see Daldona down into the final sector, and hopefully for their sake, we'll see them return into the first place. If not, we have really entered Memeville. Out towards the line, Daldona will cross after a dominant performance here at the Nurburgring Nordschleife.
He's still second.
And he is still second.
Bartlovich has won the whole race. He's beating the GTPs in an LMP2.
What has happened?
Oh, it's a masterstroke.
I can't believe what I've just seen. Oh,
It's won by 5 minutes.
It's
The
absolutely
45-minute race.
I don't really know. We're trying to get a bit of a description to what's happening. Apparently, you might get a penalty once everyone's finished. But I am genuinely in shock. But it should be a penalty. But either way, I think everyone's also confused in chat as well. Matthias Peronen just said, "I'll say what on earth," and then said LMP2 in P1 question mark. So there's a lot of confusion happening in this grid. There's a lot of confusion happening in the comedy box as well.
Yeah, that's normal though. So I've never seen anything quite like this, but you might have just had an LMP. Oh no, there we go. It's finally at the very end of the race, as everyone's crossed the line. He's dropped down to where he should be. Well, that was very exciting for a short time.
Weirdly enough, Ike Americano didn't actually know what was going on. Meanwhile, we were just bringing you all the excitement. Sorry for all of that. We'll take a look at the results, starting with the GTDs, and a dominant performance from Kadlacik. Takes victory by 12 seconds over Villapeninen, of course, in that second spot. Hugo Schmidt, who was the driver that was like the fifth driver in that trainer in the 5-car fight that we had for second earlier on, finishes up on the podium. Before we get to Beres Wheel, Kokapa, Anti-Terro, who's... We've got a little bit of a scare when Pete Berriman came round to lap them before we get to Aslan Sert and, of course, Hassan Saeed. We saw Heuser, we saw Umalaman have that moment down into the final complex as well. So a bit of a shame there. But it was exciting anyway. Beermans, Figlak, then, of course, Salem, Marchelkowski. We honestly, no idea. Absolutely no idea what happened to Jan Marchelkowski. But either way, we did say it was speeding on entry to pit lane, but I don't know why that led to a retirement from the race. And we saw an enormous crash from Volkovic, of course, in that the Huizinfeld Ferrari. Onto the LMP2 category, where it was eventually won by Daldona, which, whilst is the right thing to have happened, we would have been more excited had it gone the other way, but that's fine. Sean Chisholm, 21 seconds behind in a well-deserved second place, despite getting involved with a couple of bits of contact. Robin Gartner in third place. Martin de Jong, no relation to Mitchell, in fourth place with Alinas. Sylvian Moraine, who we saw backwards going through the siphon. Esteve, Ian May, not enough fuel in the car, down into 8th position, had that side-by-side with Noah Kutra, and then Daniel Claro down in 10th place in the... the Haas meme machine. Bartlovitz nearly won it all. Unfortunately, down in 11th spot with Jensen, Sung, Brasfield, and Torner down in 15th. One more category left to go, and I will walk my way through it pretty quickly because fastest lap of the race went to Pete Berryman, as did the race victory by 22 seconds. I think he might have been a bit like sweating behind the wheel on that last lap. Bruderer obviously up in second place with Lopez, Munoz, and Gumpelmeyer down in 5th. Matthias Peronen, one of the most confused drivers post-race, courtesy of all of that, finished down in 6th position with Ignacio Rodriguez Fredes backwards on lap 1 at T1 and managed to work their way back up in the 7th spot with Kaiser, Ribelau, and Greener in the lone non-Acura in the Cadillac. So shout out to you for not taking the easy choice. The 5 Acuras down at the rear of the field. Demasenso down in 11th position. Bamba with the crazy side-by-side going through Schwedenkreuz earlier on. Busby with a couple of spins and unfortunately retirement for the race courtesy of it. Rodriguez and Tanguy Bullon, who was, of course, second place on that first lap, really keeping up with Pete Berryman. It was an exciting race. It was a lot of fun, and it's exactly what we expect from the Nordschleife, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. We don't get to do these kind of things ever in real life, but we do in sim racing, and it helps to visit some unusual circuits. But next week, I think it's fair to say, Lewis, we're back to somewhat normality for this series.
Yeah, of course, looking at those ones that we got left, you've got Silverstone, you've got Gilles Villeneuve, you've got Aragon, Mugello, Sebring, those in reverse order. It is a bit more back to normality, but let's be honest, Sebring next week, I think I want to be quite busy because who doesn't love a bit of Sebring? It works so well in these cars.
Well, I don't love it, but anyway.
Because it needs to be repaved. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not with you, but... You know what I mean?
I don't. But no, it's an iconic endurance racing circuit, or multi-class racing circuit, I should say, really, for IMSA especially. And it's a little bit early in terms of special event is coming up in quite some time, but we're going to be there in 1 week's time, and so yeah, it should be a good race, as we always get in these types of cars at that circuit.
I'm sure some teams and drivers will begin their preparation phase for the Sebring 12-hour, which is not that far down the road. Of course, join us in a week's time for the Sebring International Raceway here on Friday night prime time. Maybe I'll take to the grid and embarrass myself. Maybe I'll be in the comms booth. Who knows? Who knows? From myself, Lewis McLeod, though, from Ewan O'Leary, and from Ike Mericala, who's been bringing you this broadcast, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you in a week's time at Sebring. Have a lovely weekend and enjoy all the racing. Until then, though, bye-bye.